What's going on, guys? It's the Crypto Lark here. Today we're going to be talking about Decent. These guys are trying to decentralize content distribution on the blockchain. We're going to have a look at the project, have a look at the team, have a look at the competition. You guys know the drill. This is a coin review. Before we get into that, quick shout out to everyone who has been hitting the like button and subscribing to the channel down below, guys. I really appreciate everyone's support for my channel. Absolutely awesome. We're almost 10,000 guys, so we're doing really good. Thank you so much, everyone. Also, quick disclaimer, this is not professional financial advice, guys. This is just one man and his passion for all things cryptocurrency related on the internet. Let's get into it. What is Decent trying to do? Well, they have a very interesting project. They are trying to cut out the middlemen in the content distribution online. Now, I remember recently, actually, this is a bit anecdotal, but I remember recently Jared Leto, he made a film about how bad they were being screwed by their record companies. And it really hits home the idea that things like this, things like what Decent are offering, are so necessary in the world. And the future of all content distribution will be decentralized. These giant corporations, you know, they're not going anywhere quite yet, but their days are numbered. These old models of doing business will be washed away by the tide of progress. It always happens. It always happens. You know, you can't continue to have a system where the people who have all the talent and do all the creation get so screwed. Now, that being said, Decent's not trying to, you know, take down the music industry, although there are some other projects that I have seen that are trying to do just that. They're aiming more at ebooks, blogs, you know, photo services like, you know, sort of Shutterstock kind of things, e-newspapers, academic papers, and I think that's probably a really good market for them, actually, the academic papers. If anyone's ever, you know, had to study at university and, you know, look up academic things in databases, you realize you can only access those at the university. And if you want to use it at home, it's actually really expensive to sign up to those academic journal services. Of course, indie games be a big thing for it as well. But I really think for Decent to have the kind of success they would like to have, they really need to get in, you know, albums, music albums, films, even if they're small budget films to start with, get films on board. And that's going to be really hard because obviously you have to have the distribution network and things like this, and that it's not really what they're aiming for with, you know, films and albums, but I could really see that having a lot of potential here. So I don't know if that's in their future ideas or not, but it would certainly add a lot to it. Now, some of the bonuses, of course, you know, obviously you can just self-publish your ebooks, can decide how much you would like to receive for your content instead of having prices dictated to you by a middleman. You will earn more, your customers will pay less because, again, you're not paying 75% of the money or whatever the particular fees of any particular middleman might be, because they're usually huge. Okay. So, why is it good? Now, you're going to be using the blockchain. And why is the blockchain useful in content distribution? Because it secures everything along the way, right? You put your content out, you set the price, you see who buys it. It's all done on the immutable ledger of the blockchain. Now, Decent is an open source solution, so that is anybody can come in here and, you know, create applications for it, which would be really nice to see. Now, currently, one of the drawbacks of Decent is that you actually have to go over here and download it here. Now, look, that's not the end of the world by any means, but, you know, they're decentralized marketplace and all that stuff. You actually got to go download it, and if you want to use it, it's a click download kind of thing. It would be better if it was just a web-based system, much like Steemit. That is a definite advantage for Steemit. You don't have to download any separate program. You just log in and go. So maybe Decent will think about doing that in the future. Don't know. We'll see. You know, of course, on Steemit, you know, you can build different projects. For example, they built DTube over on Steemit. So will we see something like that come out for Decent that will help take it to that next step? Don't know. But it's an interesting idea. Okay. Now, they've got basically a proof of stake system. They call it seeders to be a seeder. So basically, you will use your computer's computing power in order to seed out the content to the world, and of course you'll be paid in decent tokens in return. Well, that's pretty decent of them, don't you think? I think that's pretty decent. Now let's have a look at their roadmap. Now these guys have actually been going for quite some time. They started all the way back in 2015, so they've had this project going for a long time. They've only recently launched their network, so they've only been in operation since June. They're very young still. They've got apps coming Q3 and Q4 2017. I'd be curious to see what exactly those apps will be. And of course they have an app store coming in 2018. So they've got things on the horizon. So it's not bad. Would certainly like to see some more things on that upcoming time. So we can already see that Decent's had an app, or a few apps actually, developed on their blockchain. You come over here and check out ATM Chain, for example. These guys got a bunch of information here about what they're doing and where they want to go, etc., etc. So things are happening. Things are happening over there for sure. Now, if you check out the core team, they've got a huge team here. Huge team, which is actually really exciting. They're definitely spending a lot on their team. They've got a whole team over in China, which is very exciting. So lots of people working on the project. Looking over at the advisory board, they've got a few advisors. Now, the one thing, and it's unfortunate. It's an unfortunate criticism, but it would be nice to see a big name here. And it seems so silly in the crypto space, but the ability to have one of those, big names like Vitalik or Lon Wong sign off on your project is pretty substantial. That doesn't mean that Decent's a bad project. I'm just saying that would certainly help, and I'm sure they would like to see that if they could. Now, the real lead of the project here is Mr. Michalko. Now, Michalko has been, of course, obviously he's the founder and CEO of Decent, but he's also been working at Blockchain R&D Hub, Coin Salting. He's working over with Bitcoin marketing and doing a lot of Bitcoin related projects. Now, he's only been in it for a few years, but in the crypto space, that means he's almost a dinosaur of cryptos. So he's been in it for a few years, which, definitely his experience is a lot of what they're going to be drawing off to move forward here. If you come over and check out their Twitter, I better follow them, by the way. If you come over here and check out their Twitter, lots going on their Twitter. They've been posting quite a bit, about what Michalko's up to, or different projects that they're doing, different things. Here we got Paris Hilton approves. It's in her top 11 ICOs that she got into. Now, if you check out the partners, again, it's a terrible criticism, but at the same time, it's a criticism nevertheless. They don't have any giant partners yet, but they do have quite a few different partnerships going on. Nevertheless, but it'd be nice to see some of those big heavyweight names in here. And hey, maybe this is giant in China. I don't know, I can't read Chinese, but nevertheless, I'd like to see a few of those bigger names in here. Now, some of the really good news, of course, is that they are hiring. Yay! Now, of course, if you want to get a job with Decent, come over here and check it out. But for us on the investing side, this is actually really good because it shows that they're long from done. And they've got a huge team already. This is the thing, and they're hiring all these other people. That's great. That shows that, in spite of the kind of downturn on the market cap, they're still, pressing forward. They've been doing this for a couple years. I don't think they're giving up anytime soon. Now, look, there is competition in the market. Library Credits, for example, they wanted to do open and free marketplace for content distribution. I'm not sure much is happening with Library Credits these days. Now, obviously, potential competitor, I'm going to say, in this space is Steemit. Now, Steemit, obviously, yeah, it's great. You can just come over here and, click and, oh, hey, look, there you go. Someone just got paid for microblogging here, which is nice, but obviously, Steemit, for anyone who uses it, has severe limitations. Steemit, you can't really put an ebook out on Steemit. It's great for microblogging, good for photos, although you don't, you get paid for your photos over on Steemit if you've got a good following. But it's not really good for indie games or ebooks or albums, for example. So it does have a lot of limitations, Steemit, and the attention span for products is incredibly short on Steemit. So it's not necessarily a competitor, but it does compete for some of that content creation space that Decent would like to occupy. Now, if you go over here and check out their Reddit, one of the top things is Decent price going to hell. Now look, that's just some dude being a dude, but realistically, he's not too far off. And look, Decent's, great comeback here in just, the past few hours. But it's taken a huge hit. If we go back here to about 1 month ago, Decent actually got creeped up just over 100 million there for a little bit. It's not quite hitting it there, but it got just over 100 million. And ever since then, it's just taken a huge beating. Of course, obviously, early September there was a pretty brutal time for everybody. They dropped $15 million in a day, basically, and then more, and then they just kept on going down, 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 down. Now, one worrying thing is the volume is fairly low at the moment. It's only $237,000, which is pretty low for a 24-hour volume, considering most coins, well, not most coins, but you definitely want to be looking for things, up more like, the 500, 600, 700,000, a million range. But that doesn't mean that, Decent's down and out by any means. In fact, I think it's a really good project. It's a tricky space to be in because not a lot of people are willing to pay for content. And look, I pay for content online, most of it. For example, I support people on Patreon. I'm really happy to support those guys on Patreon. So it's not that people won't support people that they like, especially if, it's peer-to-peer in that kind of way. I think a lot of the reason why people steal films, for example, is that we don't want, okay, I go buy a film for 15, 20 bucks, whatever they cost. Who buys films these days? You go and buy a film for whatever it costs, and that of that 20 bucks, like 1850 of it is going towards the tax man, or actually probably more than 1850 of it, probably 1975 of it is going towards the tax man and towards the production company, and actually the people involved, the director or whatever, only gets like 25 cents. So look, those aren't official numbers by any means, and contracts will vary depending on company, but you see why there is a demand for this kind of stuff. And I think that, crowdfunding platforms, for example, have proven to us that people are willing to pay for the content. That's not the problem. It's that people have perhaps a fundamental disagreement with paying these giant corporations for the content. So look, Decent's got its work cut out for it. It's a tough space to be trying to make money in. But if history has anything to prove, if Decent can come back to that $100 million market cap, which I think they have an idea that if they can make it happen, can be a $100 million company, then you got a lot of space to grow, because right now it's only down in, $24 million for the market cap. So if it is a project that you believe in and it is a project that you're interested in, now would be a good time to get invested, because it's pretty gosh darn low. And can it go lower? Sure. Anything can always go lower, but it definitely has a lot of room to go up too. So that is something to keep in mind. It is a good time to get in, if that is, a project that you're interested in getting into. So anyway, guys, I want to know from you, what do you think about Decent? Is it a good project? Have you invested in it? Hit me up in the comment section down below. I'd be keen to hear what you guys think about this one. Anyway, that is all from the Crypto Lark, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. Long live the blockchain, and peace out till next time.